what are you doing? The funeral home's that way.
We're not going to a funeral. I knew that was the only way to get you in the car.
What the hell? I bought new shorts for that.
You've been going down a bad path lately.
How lately?
About the past 23 years, give or take.
I can't help what I did as a fetus. I'm sorry.
You took me from my apartment just to drive me back to my apartment?
Breaking and entering isn't as fun if you know what's happening.
I'm not an alcoholic.
Your file says otherwise.
Listen, you're an alright guy. Damn near human.
We just want to fix you.
I would have to be mentally broken or not already castrated for you to do that. I'm good.
Oh, alright. How about you just open your Christmas present from this year?
Oh boy, I hope it's a snake. What the fuck?
Somebody shut him up with some duct tape.
On it.
What the hell? What could possibly be wrong with me?
You're not an RPG guy.
I thought that was my race.
Nope, my bad. Got them mixed up.
From Nintendo based on the Mario franchise. Super Mario RPG, Mario & Luigi, Paper Mario, many of these games actually make turn-based combat fun. They have action commands, which means, hey, pick an attack, then time your action just right by hitting a button at this exact moment. It's almost like a rhythm game. It keeps me involved and entertained. Sure, some of the games are dog but I think these games help tremendously in conveying the appeal of RPGs to those who don't play a ton of them. No matter how much you enjoy role-playing games, you have to admit, they aren't the easiest to jump into most of the time. You gotta wean yourself on a Mario RPG before you jump into Persona 5.
You're about to talk about something else.
Holy f***, this game is so stylish and cool. Listen to the music, the setting is so neat.
You freaked me out, man.
I've become an RPG guy.
Games scared me. Who knows what you're capable of giving a shit
And
about?
I fucking hate myself. What am I? What have I become? How do I even use one of these? Oh!
And you went insane after therapy sessions with you about 3 games caused you to question faith.
That's my obituary.
Okay.
Hello,
You can't help me until
my
you know what
name
the third
is
game is going to be.
Why?
It sounds like a good thing to add in my
Jesus,
book,
and the
my
target
patient's
employee
personal
was
stories and
I don't know.
You know,
You didn't talk about
we
it.
should do something
It was
nice
a game.
for him. Like to place a fling smash order? What do I want? Yeah, I'll go with fling smash this time.
Christ, it's been a busy day for us.
You
Who
were a
delivers?
therapist.
This
I
economy
tried
is
to be
about
a
to be
news
the
anchor, but I
fucking
wasn't.
best.
So I thought you just delivered RPGs.
I was your patient.
Well,
and
RPG
I'm
can mean
gonna
a lot of
be
different
because
things.
actually 3
For
days
example,
after games
like when you're
were
really playing
so
Gex.
bad, I'd seek therapy.
Well, what was the
you
third
like
game?
Gex?
What
No,
happened
no,
when
no.
you played the
I
third
have to
game?
pay for it. God, I want to the economy.
I just wanted to give you a formal warning on your recent performance as a human. You're really f***ing it.
I don't want to fuck anything. What did I do wrong?
First off, that time you drank that water and made a face, f*** you. I make water. Second off, you're trying to be an RPG guy.
I thought that's what everybody wanted.
See, I crafted humanity to have the instinctive trait to not like RPGs.
Everything, forget who I am, become a therapist.
Then all of a sudden, evolution
So
was
it's
like,
just a 2D game about a
here's
robot.
Overbound 64,
bad
person
2D
of
game
worldly
about a
caliber, the famous game that everybody loves. And ever since
Until
we had a bunch of
2015 they
mutants
didn't.
walking
Listen, can you just
around
get over this
playing
trauma so I can
RPGs?
enjoy my therapy in peace?
No, you need to get over your trauma.
It's
I
normal
need
to not
therapy,
like all
alright?
kinds
And
of
you're gonna
things,
give me
whether it's
advice on how to
RPGs
improve
or
my
murder.
mental health, and you're gonna like it!
You're a therapist. Don't you give yourself
You know who
therapy?
you are.
My mirror's in the shop!
You don't know what I go through every day. How do you expect
You're
me to
not
give
an
you
RPG
secret
guy.
therapy when we
You
didn't even
know
finish our
this
original
deep down,
session?
but
You know,
that doesn't
I'll tell you
mean
what,
should
if I
immediately
finish your
renounce
session, will we
every
do my
RPG that
therapy?
you come across.
There are millions of
Even though
customers who websites that
RPGs
would
were
love to hear
never
your
meant to
personal
be
problems.
enjoyed.
You need to finish
People
what you
like
started.
this.
We need to end this
You
now.
should respect
I have
and
dinner tonight with my
understand
family,
much
and I
as
gotta
they
finish this
should
before then,
respect
so I don't
and
show up
understand.
insane.
But
You're a
you
therapy
find
machine.
don't
You're gonna therapize good tonight. You're gonna be the best therapist a therapist will ever ask for. You're gonna do great.
Okay, so I was thinking
What
about
the?
technical cultures.
What the? Who gave you my address? Why are you here? What the? Oh, yes. Hey, let's go in there.
RPG guy. What's up with that?
It's the Yeeries. God, this just don't
Now this is space school party. back on the Game Pass. Pig process. Barter's here.
Just like every day I've ever met. Where does this order get off? Wait! I hate shake!
What about this Star version of that character. What is the star version of that character? Around like this. What's the point of this then? I get it twice, like exact numbers on one wrong with this game?
You said something square. A blue square attack.
Nowhere near as good as the Titan there aren't enough different paths to go on. Banjo Kazooie is in Smash Bros. Banjo's kind of relevant of higher quality. I keep rewatching Trouble I hope this actually a really fun idea, but there's only 10 different minigames that can appear in this game. Kind of repeat fairly off there. So it's way too easy. Of course they were going to make a tutorial a while. It's just a good idea. But I'm going to try execution. They got so much right from the concept of Super Mario Party. The middle of the direct is one of them. Okay, it's definitely a fun time with friends. I know not everybody has access to the older Mario Party. Mario Party is perfectly fine. The job is applying a fun enough game Mario Party. The long runs are tough and scripts ahead by this time. Nintendo's good. That's so and they made a lot of 3DS games that look like yours. Just because Microsoft and Sony are preparing for the next generation. The Wii U library. Okay, Souls Remastered finally came out. It didn't grab me immediately. I'll definitely try it again for sure. Regardless, the story is the only one that did somewhat okay. Definitely gave it a This game really didn't sell well install. It was put on sale almost immediately. Mega Man 11 though did fairly well, and I really enjoyed it. Where do you find these people? Somebody got a great look to it. It was just pretty lame by Mega Man. Turns out the persona supports that already.
Those demographics over
But if you go into the Mega Man, writing comics, I have 95% no way else for future games. Go down there right now. Finish them all 11 did feel better even than
I am about confident in the next show.
You know what they say?
That's a big title.
Let's get him out.
Things aren't going our way and we need attention. One doubt. Obviously made for the demo it is. Pokemon Go fan. I was like, oh man, I gotta keep playing. It is a perfect maybe we get our attention. I've seen a lot of people praise it. Simple. Since I got it took it a little too far. I really lost it fairly quickly. I think it was colors, should be
I just thought that's what water looked like now.
There's no reason general for that matter. It doesn't look like no reason.
Anybody has a story? Stop. I can tell you how many times I've been around this man. Damn, man! Stop using your throat!
Carnival games, guys. It's back. Just made its way to Switch.
There's a big blue border that's gonna feed you.
Here, unfair.
Has to end! Come on, guys, can you do this for us, guys?
Announcements were pretty subpar.
Now that's what I call a good point.
Why not spam it? I don't trust this thing. Now I picked up a ton of games over Black Friday. I got a box copy of Bayonetta 2 for like $30, but I also went Zerk on the eShop. They finally got Doom. There's the same board game game show game on sale, why not? Yeah, Smash Brothers came out recently, we'll talk about that. Smash Brothers Stop!
I'm tired of it. You're a terrible game, but everyone will come to you. I'm better than that.
And that's all I really say whenever somebody asks what I do about Smash Brothers. I'll see the manner of the really good Smash Brothers. Gameplay is better than it's ever been.
I'm in a field. That's why I don't trust this guy for centuries. I'm standing here because as a news
Terra still stages the best game that'll pop up and I'll go
various I have phenomenal.
however, it's single player options are great. Single player likes a lot of variety. This game came out on the Eve. Fighter. Single player wise, it's basically non-stop.
Stop putting spirit battles.
Also, it's a stage with specific conditions that are supposed to evoke talent. And 4 days after these are the basic battles of life, which is fundamentally the case of the JPEG by specific
God, you know what this means? They're wrong anyway.
This is nonsense. I can finally tell you why we're so bad at that. It will definitely make you feel it out. You can rip up that range secretary. I'm good on my own. I think I'm going to start my own therapy.
This entire time.
Dr. Acker.
It's like the moon.
Thank you, Dr. Geriatrics.
Oh my God, for real? Oh yes! Guys, we're going to get here.
Oh, I love my pet.
What the frick is this?
I'm not joking about that. Pretty spot on. It's a good game.
That includes shallows.
And countless others who are asking for Smash Bros. Not because we have dying for a Smash game. Being out every time you guys wanted to play Smash Bros.
We've got nothing else to do today!
So you got all direct together. Before they catch you size. In fact, you have some kind of now the same day as it's hard to find a physical copy. It's gotta be drastic. That IRS. We gotta save the world. We gotta save the day. I know you all don't have something, so yeah, we all this way. You don't want the cataracts. Woodstock, the ends as well. You got nothing else going on, so you all might as well. We can't give up, at least not yet. We gotta try. I can't lose this bet. We're the only ones capable of ending this fable. So we must install this night. This so counts as a fight. You know your head and puppet on your closest head. No fear, no dignity, not both will be dead. It's our duty to fight back. After borders came to dwell. When else does this ever happen? So we all might as well. Might as well. And a big night, our strength combined can take the fight. Because it's up to us and with some luck we'll watch the border's demise. And if unaware before, prepare yourself, cause this is war. There's not much time before we empire ever.
curing me by talking about Game Pass.
Apparently,
One of my
it
love
games
channel
all you
talked
kinda do
about
is fight bosses.
Nintendo
Andrew, at least Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe release stuff. I played enough new Super Mario Brothers U. I didn't want to contract anything again, so I haven't picked this one up. If anything, this version is worse than the Wii U release. The releases of the game already included all the DLC, plus it had the boost mode, gum that had a Wii U gamepad. But he took all that out and added Toad as a playable character. But with that, they managed to finish the full fun multiplayer where you both have an advantage because Toad and Habit has a good ability. You can't play as just Mario and Princess Melody all together. Nothing! Dumb. Nintendo also published Smash Bros. That's another sign that we ain't getting a new SNES game. Finally, other two publishing developers I gave the demo a whirl, and it does offer a decent workout. We've had games are more fun, but if you're looking for a fitness game, I don't think it's enough. You're on screen. Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes finally released. There really wasn't a lot of new heroes. We're adding NES games are probably a top-down hack. Yeah, it would have been way better if they were more obscure as Lost. Plus, most of the best NES games are artists. It wasn't the craziest part. The lack of a direct was really depressing. There's good online Nintendo fans expect me to talk about them. Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe? Holy shit, alright, we're here. Last month, and it was a pretty packed thing. With an SNES controller. It happened on the thing started and ended. Super Mario Maker 2 opened the show up. I don't think anybody could come up with anything negative to say about it. It did everything I wanted for a Mario Maker sequel. Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening ended the show. Remake of the Game Boy game. I'm a little worried this may be like Rain Age got announced. So yes, casuals Game Boy game. So you know, September was absolutely packed. Well, not too worried. It looks fantastic. The Nintendo Switch and everything else in the direct kind of reeked. The middle was just filled with games that did not interest me all too much. A lot of RPGs I wasn't into and just some people just want to buy a Dead by Daylight and Assassin's Creed 3 that looks rough. Now that they look just bad. And for some reason, Hellblade is going to fix this.
Why are you doing this?
Astro Train was a new Platinum Games exclusive title, which looked fine, but I think that name is kind of dumb. Captain Toad is getting DLC.
You can't kill us, it's illegal.
New box for it. Literally stuff like Super Mario Party or Dragon Quest 11. I get it. Nintendo wants to push Dragon Quest. This is the definitive edition. It looks great on the system. Nuts. 4 minutes for a game that released last year, but all was saved by the announcement that a few games coming from the direct popped up against Tetris 99. You against 98 other games. There's not much to this game. It's just Tetris 99 players. It's such a go. Pick up and play games. This thing massive. Finally, a reason to get Nintendo Switch Online.
We're ending this. Guys, I know we're trying to mitigate our shorts here because we can't let it affect us. We're going to win here by being the best as we can be.
That would be amazing. I hate more games on the Switch, including games I would have never pictured playing on Nintendo console. Having a traditional D-pad is really nice. The smaller screen makes games look more sharper. The smaller size kind of weird in 2019. I mean, they're Pokemon games, that's for sure. I saw a fair amount of people express disappointment with the fact that games like seeing home console games like overall. They do look like 3D or 3DS games. I think they look pretty good visually overall. But there's obviously areas that could use a lot of game. I mean, graphically, it doesn't look nice. Well, that took about 4 years off my life. I finally got through the Switch's second year on the market, and overall, I hate Nintendo. Really, though, the best way to describe this year was disappointing. 2018 was just not the greatest follow-up for 2017. It was probably such a filler year for Nintendo's offerings. I mean, really think about it. How many in-house Nintendo-made games came out? Like, other than Labo and older games, I don't really. They just published second and third-party titles. They obviously just rode this year out and banked on Pokemon and Smash Bros. To save it, and they were completely right because they did. While I love Smash Bros. Ultimate and throughout the year, the upcoming release of the game made things interesting. The year itself was pretty lackluster overall. I feel like Nintendo used 2018 to quietly work on a lot of future games because it's obvious 2019 is going to be filled with a lot more heavy-hitting first-party titles. Mario Maker 2, Animal Crossing, Link's Awakening, so much coming. 2019 feels exactly how 2013 felt with the 3DS games play. And that was one of the handheld's best years. Mansion, Pokemon, 2D Zelda, Animal Crossing, Fire Emblem, and the Wii Shop titles. All games with Switch ads coming in 2019 that the 3DS
this had in 2013. That's pretty stoked. But still, in terms of last year, Nintendo support for 2018 was
I swear. Fox, all we're doing is looking for the blue bar. Just let us go, and everybody will be fine.
lacking in content or underwhelming. Sure, we got a lot of the Wii U's greatest hits, but those are old games. I already played them. Now, of course, I don't speak to the people who never played games like Tropical Freeze or Captain Toad, who played them for the first time. They're great games. They deserve to be played by everybody. But they're also old ones for a lot of people, including me. I still like ports on the Switch, but I want them to supplement new games coming out, not fully replace them. And ports are fundamentally 90% of the Switch's library. Don't get me wrong, I want every game ever made on the Switch too. It's incredibly convenient to have so many games from different kinds of consoles and time periods on an all-in-one portable home console. But there's always something to play on this system. But the fact that the vast majority of this library is old makes the system less exciting sometimes. It gives the system less character since it's primarily characterized by titles that it can't call its own, which is weird to say about a Nintendo system. Like I said, I like having these ports and older games on the Switch, but that's almost all that comes to the system. I want to see more new original titles released, both from Nintendo and third parties. But with Nintendo, they're almost out of Wii U games to port over, and thinking about some of the games they have left, I think Mario 3D World will make the jump. This game would feel way more at home on the Switch than it did on the Wii U, especially with the two Joy-Cons and instant co-op multiplayer. I'd be more than okay with the Paper Mario Color Splash port, just because ditching the Wii U game type would make this game way better. Wonderful 101 would definitely benefit from one. Yoshi's Woolly World would be nice if they were the Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, combine the content from the 3DS and Wii U. Pikmin 3 is probably gonna happen. I prefer a Pikmin HD collection though, or better yet, Pikmin 4 for God's sake. I prefer much older games remastered compared to Wii U ports. I just played a lot of these games a few years ago. Remaster some much older titles. Obviously because that would be a lot more work, but still, I would rather see some remakes. Of course, you may say, with all this old game talk, but Scott, there are loads of original games on the Switch. Not everything's a port or an old game. Well, yeah, there has to be some great original games, but I can't find them in this minefield of shovelware. The Nintendo Switch eShop is horrendous. Every time I log on, it lags and stutters more and more because too many games are releasing on it. Well, that must be a good thing, right? No, of course not. Most of these games nobody has ever heard of and nobody wants to play. I think this is just porn. The eShop desperately needs an overhaul. Nintendo added this features tab, but it doesn't really do a good job highlighting games you might not have heard of. It mainly just showcases games we all know are on the system. Speaking of the eShop, I already said this last year, but I really wish Nintendo would put out more smaller games on there like they used to do on the 3DS. Just throw out random things on there like push mode and other snippet games, but again, completely original games. That would have definitely helped things out when there wasn't a ton coming out I was a just play. I feel like Sushi Striker would have been the perfect game. But unlike push mode or snippet games, which were downloadable titles at a low price, Sushi Striker came out at retail for $50. That's a major problem in general with Switch content. There has rarely been a great deal when it comes to Switch accessories or games. This has been a thing since launch, but it's been especially noticeable this year when something like Kirby Star Allies comes out for $60. Kirby Planet Robobot for 3DS came out a few years ago for $40 and had more content. Capcom recently revealed that Resident Evil 1, 0, and 4 would cost $30 each when they cost $20 on the PS4 and Xbox One. I guess publishers are pricing Switch-related items crazy high just because they know they can, and it's ridiculous. I've recently started playing Resident Evil 4, and I adore it. I was gonna buy the Switch version on the entry. It's because you released an entry not many want to. I do quite enjoy the Switch, and while I finally remember and somewhat miss the days of 2017 when we only got 20 games a month, albeit good games, I'm happy that it's been this monumental of a success. I want to see it succeed and become better, which is why I'm very critical of it right now. This isn't the charming little console that could from 2017 anymore. This is a legitimate platform with thousands of games ranging from retro to indie to AAA releases, which makes the problems that are still here after they could have been fixed since launch that much more irritating. What is wrong with this company? Much better online service, more new original games from third parties, a better lineup of legacy content from Nintendo, a more robust operating system, for God's sakes. This whole we're focusing on games at launch was cute, but it's been 2 years, Nintendo. This is ridiculous. No internet browser, no way to browse social media. You can post to it, but not browse it. No menu keys, no folders, still no Netflix. Oh my god. I want the Switch to be the best console it can possibly be. So when Nintendo does something that I find unbelievable or just plain bad, I'm gonna talk about it in a tone that'll make any grandmother faint.
You're the only
I
patient
didn't
mind
personally
that's
find
sick of
2018 that crazy
Five
exciting on the games front, but that doesn't mean the system is bad. Far from it. The last year was sort of lackluster for me, but 2019 is going to definitely be an improvement. I'm legitimately excited for the future of this game.
The Nintendo Switch has potential to be one of the greatest systems of all the time. It just needs to fix a few things. The eShop needs better design, the overall quality of the online service needs to be improved, the releases of newer and older titles should be much more evened out, it needs to refrigerate food better, kill 99.9% of the germs, eat my vegetables, tell me ghost stories, drive my cousin to school, and if it does all that, then I think we have a winner.
From a blue border course, I was out to the world to the best of my days. And so now you're worse than you thought, but there's one thing that makes it all okay. I've always been interested in this guy. This game is so damn similar to Tropical Frisbee. It's not bad. Tropical Frisbee is better every time you play it. When I first initially played it back in 2014, I thought it was good. Now, after recently replaying it for the third time, I consider it to be one of the greatest party games of all time. This game is another really good one. I wouldn't say it. Tropical Frisbee I unfortunately out of nowhere. I love me a good Professor Layton game. New Super Lucky's Tale was a quality 3D platformer and originally released on the Xbox One as an exclusive, but probably version on Switch. I personally have no clue exactly how much it is, and how they changed it quite a bit. That it will be pretty solid time. Nothing mind-blowing. That stinks. Smash Brothers Ultimate was updated, formerly releasing Harry to the World, a Nintendo surprise released an eShop multiplayer game, Stretchers, and I wouldn't lie if I said I knew anything about this game. Overwatch complain ever again. This one I said a hard thing about this game. November was surprisingly light. Black Friday happened, so good for consumers. I picked up quite a few titles I just didn't get around. Roll all this work away after Nintendo was offering the Switch bundle with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe to a big deal this year. The celebration at $50. And it also wasn't the new Switch with better battery life. On the next part of the Switch 5th anniversary release. Oddly enough, at this point, I'm pretty happy that barely much happened after November. Remember that time when I wouldn't shut up about September 2019 for the Switch? Yeah, that was hell. Here's Assassin's Creed Rebel Collection. Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag actually released on Switch. It was nice and it ran a whole hell of a lot better than 3 ever did. The game with Assassin's Creed Rogue, thus they had to give it a stupid dumb collection name instead of just calling it Assassin's Creed 4. Mario Brothers sounds so damn well. Of course, sadly, Rogue wasn't on the game card, which is pretty lame. You had to download it. And equally as lame, Hall of War is Gunslinger released the kind of only. They were confident enough to release it at retail. That gives them an excuse to go hog wild for it. I want to know if anybody actually buys these download code-friendly cases. What's the point? Brain Age's Nintendo Switch training launched into Mario Kart Live. You're getting it on January 3rd. And it was Brain Age. But many reviewers noted how it felt a little unevolved seeing these iterations, and because of that, it connected a little out of place on the system. Like just the fact that it came with a bonus stylus to use, it just makes the game on Switch not feel as organic as it did on DS or 3DS. This is a series they should have released on smartphones. It feels a little out of place here, but for what it is, it's pretty good. No North American movies so far, sadly. Plus, I want to play this experience. Mario Maker 2 actually got an update with items and power-up that turns you into Link with his own full moveset. Listen, really cool. But they put this out way too late. Like, come on, nearly half a year after the game came out, we got our first substantial content update. The original Mario Maker got stuff out way quicker than that. By this time, many had moved on from Mario Maker 2. Well, at least there was another indie world with some task game and massive abilities like Rexy vs. Demons and Secret Golf Stars. Also, the Game Awards happened. Following up last year's reveals of Joker and Smash and Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, Nintendo revealed Square Enix's Bravely Default 2, and that's it. Thank God December was like, thank God the next few months have been some of the driest in Nintendo Switch history. Remember the Switch? Well, Nintendo barely did for the first few months of 2020. Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore Bundles. Happy that happened. It was good and deserved more of a chance than you got on Wii U. It just doesn't appeal to me, so I skipped out on this one. I bought it on Wii U, damn it, I did my part. Other than that, not much of note to me released. But we did get some updates. The 5th and final DLC character in the Smash Bros. Ultimate Fighters Pass was revealed. In a lineup of third-party characters, most of which nobody would have ever expected to be in Smash Bros., the final character in this pack was some sap from Fire Emblem. The playable character from Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Byleth, was the character revealed via a live stream hosted by Sakurai, so I actually had a thought cross my mind right before the stream happened. I mean, everybody was going crazy speculating, but I thought while I was pretty sure it would be another third-party character, this was a live stream dedicated to a specific Smash Bros. Announcement. And what characters get announced a lot during Smash Bros. Dedicated live streams? Fire Emblem characters. I mean, I don't care. There are characters I want in the game, but the roster is so huge at this point, they can add whoever they want in my opinion. Also, side note, this is just a random thought I've had lately. As much as new characters getting announced for Smash Bros. Is such a big event in gaming that I love, I almost would prefer if they focused on adding stuff via DLC that Ultimate's lacking in, like more single-player modes. Mainly because the one thing the game is for sure not lacking in is the character roster. Anyways, yeah, sure, go ahead, add this character, but I sure do not care. I mean, the fact that this is the 8th Fire Emblem character is one thing, but they couldn't have picked a more uniquely designed Three Houses character. Byleth just looks like a slightly tweaked Martha and Lucina to me. Now, the character itself plays differently enough. I don't personally like playing as them, but I can at least appreciate how different they play compared to the rest of the Fire Emblem cast. But still, this wasn't my first pick for a Smash Bros. Character. This wasn't my pick in general, but oh well. Many people were pretty upset. You have the people who whined non-stop about it, and then the people who were annoyingly rubbing it in others' faces that they wanted Byleth. Both needed to calm down. But of course, with me being critical, I will definitely be associated with the whiners, so might as well let this one out. I keep seeing people say how Three Houses is huge now, so Nintendo's capitalizing on its success with a Three Houses character in Smash Bros. Listen, over 2 million copies, that ain't small. That's great to see for a series like this. But I wouldn't consider that huge. Like, Splatoon 2 is the second entry in a 5-year-old franchise, and it sold nearly 10 million copies. Why haven't we gotten another Splatoon character as DLC? Kirby Star Allies sold over 2 million copies. God, I don't know, I don't mind this character, but they definitely did not excite me at all, and a lot of the reasonings people gave for why they were included. A Pokemon Direct was held, announcing a remake of the first Mystery Dungeon game, with a demo releasing right then and there. After that Byleth talk, I am scared shitless to say my opinion on this. I didn't like it, but the art style was cute. For the love of God, move on. Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC was announced. I mean, it looks decent enough. It's effectively replacing that third version we'd get with titles, which I think is a good step in the right direction. It's just a little iffy considering one of the complaints many had with Sword and Shield was a lack of content, and to see this getting announced so quickly after release, I don't know, man. Thank God we're here! Thank God Nintendo forgot February existed, so not much happened this month either. We got some game releases like Mega Man Zero ZX Legacy Collection, Devil May Cry 3, which actually had some additions to it unlike the first two games, but I bought Sega Ages Sonic 2. I could already play Sonic 2 via the Sega Genesis Classics Collection for Switch, but I'm an idiot, you saw
I spent a good chunk of my life whining about DLC for Smash Brothers, I had to pick this one up. This is actually a pretty solid version of Sonic 2. It has Knuckles playable, and the emulation is great, but my god, Sega, why don't you just release the mobile phone version on consoles? It's the best version. Also, why doesn't Sega re-release more stuff in general on Switch? Like, they are, but it's the non-essentials. Like, they ported Sonic and Sonic 2 when the Switch already had these games in this giant collection. We got Sega Ages Puyo Puyo 2 when there's already an abundance of Puyo Puyo on the system. Start releasing Sega Saturn or Dreamcast games, or even Xbox 360 stuff. Who would kill for Sonic Generations? Speaking of re-releases, Platinum Games launched a Kickstarter to bring Wonderful 101 to Switch, PC, and PS4. I liked Wonderful 101 on Wii U, it definitely deserves a second chance, but this entire Kickstarter kind of gave me weird vibes. Nintendo offered to publish Wonderful 101 themselves, but wouldn't allow Platinum to release it on PC or PS4, which makes sense. But no, they went to Kickstarter when they didn't need to. Nintendo was willing to fund the port. And all these ports seem to be pretty much done considering they're releasing in May 2020. To me, this Kickstarter seemed completely unnecessary. But hey, I guess it's pretty much a form of pre-ordering, and it got them some pretty decent publicity, so whatever. Finally, Nintendo held an Animal Crossing Direct covering New Horizons, and yep, it looks really good. But other than that, there wasn't much happening in the first few months of the year. Normally, this wouldn't be much of a problem, but nothing much at all happened in the gaming industry as a whole, and Nintendo's 2020 lineup is completely up in the air right now. Other than Animal Crossing, Mystery Dungeon, Xenoblade, and Bravely Default, what's there to look forward to?
So that was the Switch's third year on the market. I really enjoyed taking a look back at the year because it reminded me that Yoshi's Crafted World came out. Overall, it was pretty good. Definitely a lot more original first-party titles than in 2018. That year was a little too port-heavy for my taste. Although I would like to see more original titles overall on the system. One of the most noteworthy titles in February is a PS2 game from 2005.
Can I just say,
I don't know. That's not to say Devil May Cry 3
You already
isn't
had
a
Hyrule
good game,
Warriors, which was a fun idea,
it's an
taking
old
the Warrior
game.
style
It's
and
just
applying it to a
not
giant
exciting to
non-canon
me.
Zelda fan fest.
I love
Then you
that the
have
Switch
Breath of the
gets these
Wild,
legacy
which detailed
titles,
this giant battle for
but
Hyrule
it
between
feels
Link
like
and
that's
friends
all
and
it
Calamity
gets
Ganon
most
and
of the
friends
time.
that took place
Now,
before the game.
2018
So,
was
make a
definitely
sequel to
worse
Hyrule
off for
Warriors, how
titles.
about that?
I
It's
still
perfect.
felt more of
It's a
a
little weird to have a
passion for their
non-canon spin-off get a
releases.
sequel
I
like
had a
this,
lot to say about Tropical
Age of
Freeze or
Calamity
Captain
is
Toad on
still a
Switch,
Warriors game
and while
at the end of the
2019 was
day,
undoubtedly
fighting off
better,
against hordes of enemies,
I
there's some
didn't
strategy
feel
to
that
the
as
combat,
much.
but you can
And
still
if
just
I
button
had to
mash your
guess
way through.
why,
Even when you take the game
probably
seriously,
because
using
we
all
are
the characters'
legitimately
moves and
very
abilities,
far into the
it can
system's
still
life.
be
I'm just
fairly
not as
repetitive.
excited about
Like,
the
you just
system
kill all these
anymore.
enemies,
It's
go
not
over
that I
here,
don't
kill
like
these
the
enemies,
system,
go over
far
here.
from it.
However, unlike
It's
the
just that
original
it's
Hyrule
not the
Warriors,
shiny
this
new
one
gadget it
feels
used to be.
so much more
And
like
most
a
of my
Nintendo
problems
game.
with the
The last
Switch
game, yeah, and
have
Nintendo's
been
input and
constant
approval,
throughout its life.
it's a
My
Nintendo
biggest
game,
problem
but it still
is
felt
that
like it was made
has
by a third
barely
party.
addressed
which
any
it
of my
was. Age of
problems
Calamity
throughout the
feels
years.
like it was
The
made by
operating
Nintendo.
system has
This
barely
looks
changed.
just like
I'm
Breath
not
of the
getting as
Wild.
many
They
original
nailed it.
experiences as
It's
I
so
would want
much
to
fun
from
to see
Nintendo.
elements of Breath
And
of the
Mario
Wild being
and Sonic
reworked to be
2020
movesets
has
in a
one of the
Warriors
worst
game.
box arts
It's
I've
cool
ever
to
seen
see
in my
what once
life.
was a huge open world reconfigured to be
It
this.
looks
However, while
unfinished.
I think
I
it is
have
cool
no
to see these
idea what to
environments in
expect for
different contexts,
2020, considering
I
the
do
fact that we
feel
are
like the
3 months
design was
in
a
and
bit
barely
held
know
back by
anything
the
about
conventions
Nintendo's
of
plans or
Warriors
lineup.
games. Just the fact that
I
can't
already
jump over
know
this
that
small
I'm going to
step,
get a lot of
this
people
restricted
saying
going
I'm
over
being
here
too
or there.
negative,
It
and,
feels
well,
weird with this being
I
an
did
official
whine a
prequel
lot.
to Breath
I
of the
like
Wild.
the
It's
Switch.
like
I'm
that
just
game
more prone to point
revolutionized
out the
the
things
open
that
world
bug me
genre,
about
so
it.
here's a
I'm
prequel
also
that
not
feels like
really
a game
one
I'd
to
play on
freak
the
out
Xbox
and adore
360 in
every
terms of
single thing
gameplay
Nintendo
limitations. I
does.
still had a lot of
But
fun with
I'm
this.
willing
It
to
only
give it
got
a try.
annoyingly repetitive to me near the end. They had
What
to
the
fight the same giant
box
enemies
boy?
like 3 times in a row.
What
and there was
the
one moment
the
where, like, 20 different
stretchers?
powerful enemies were
What
swarming
the
me. I just
the
about
Switch
blew a
still
gasket. The biggest
exists?
problem with this game, though, is the story. I don't think it's a spoiler considering this is in the first 2 minutes, but time travel is involved, and right there that automatically devalues a lot of this game's work. I got this because I wanted to see what Breath of the Wild said happened 100 years prior, instead of getting kinda that with some extra really tart sauce. Like, okay, time travel is involved, so this is a variant of what happened. Like, I already know what happened because I played Breath of the Wild, so that's a plus, I guess, considering I had no idea what's going to happen now. But I wanted to see what I knew happened in front of my eyes. I think Breath of the Wild fans should still give this a shot. It's still a Warriors game at the end of the day, so I don't think it'll make anybody run out and pick up Warriors Orochi 3 Hyper. But it's an awesome supplemental piece to Breath of the Wild, and I had a good time with it. I didn't buy Bakugan Champions of Vestroia, though. I'm sure even the developers are happy about that. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered. I like that EA is at least kind of supporting the Switch with decade-old driving games. Hey, these are still pretty fun, and it's given the platform some good racing experiences. Weirdly enough, this came out a week after the PS4 and Xbox One versions, even though it leaked on the eShop and was fully playable months beforehand, so it wasn't like it needed extra time. Family Feud. I love Family Feud games. I don't love this Family Feud game. You can't skip any of the cutscenes or dialogue. I don't need this much animation. Just give me the damn surveys. Why is it so hard for developers to make game show games? It should be pretty simple, but they keep
fucking them up. Kingdom Hearts Melody and Memory released at $60.
This is coming from somebody who bought Mario Kart Live.
Sakuna of Rice and Ruin was a bit of a sleeper hit. It always looked excellent, and those who played it seemed to really enjoy it. There was a supposed leak that Metroid Samus Returns was coming to Switch, as this promotional image for a Switch accessory showed a high-res screenshot from the game running on Switch. This was the last thing an intern ever saw. 3D All-Stars was updated again, this time adding support for the GameCube controller and Sunshine. Why do they care this much? This is amazing, but still, you barely do anything but barely do nothing at the same time. What were the priorities with this game? A sequel to The World Ends With You was finally announced. Neo The World Ends With You, not Neo. It was really strange to me how Square Enix kept hinting at a sequel to this game for years. Pretty much right after it released on the DS, they were talking about a sequel. And only 13 years later, it finally got announced. There was concern whether Doom Eternal on Switch was canceled or not. Oh my god, that's still not out. Yeah, people's pre-orders were getting axed, but it turned out that was merely due to the fact the physical version was being canceled, and Bethesda was simply going for a digital-only release. Well, everybody, let's band together and buy Doom Eternal on Switch to show Bethesda we want more high-quality Switch, but red button! Yes, the Nintendo Switch firmware was updated to include a new icon on the menu, the Nintendo Switch Online Hub. This is pointless, but kind of fun. Look, I get to see the release dates of all the NES and SNES games online, and it even tells me that Natsume Championship Wrestling released close to my birthday. This is at least evidence that Nintendo plans to do far more with Nintendo Switch Online in the future. I assume more pricing plans will become available, like a $30 a year one where you get more retro systems included like Nintendo 64. But in the meantime, this is just a really red wart. Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, the very first Fire Emblem for the Famicom, got an official localization for the first time ever. What else do you want me to say? You know, it seems like this release may have been planned for Wii U. I mean, look how nice and vibrant NES games look like on Switch's online service. Then look at how stupid and dumb NES games look like on Wii U. Now look at Fire Emblem. Definitely a little closer to how NES games look on Wii U, if you ask me. And I'm pretty good at nailing what's a Wii U Virtual Console game and what's not.
This is all I have.
It's really cool this finally made its way over, and for only $6 at that. I really hope other games that were never localized finally make the jump. This was neat, but to be fair, the first Fire Emblem was remade on the DS, so we sort of got an equivalent before. Let's see some Fire Emblem games that never made it over here in any way, or completely different games. Please, God, completely different games. Immortals Phoenix Rising.
What's that?
It's always nice to see Ubisoft make something that's not totally driven by trends or just what will make them the most money. Immortals seemed like a passion project. Basically, the Ubisoft developers wanted to make their own Breath of the Wild. Well, they did. It's not as good, but it's a high-quality Breath of the Wild type game, if that's your thing. I really don't like the name, though. You could have just called it Immortals or Phoenix Rising. Putting them both together, I think most people have no clue what this game is. The original name, Gods and Monsters, I think was a much better title, but you just run into some copyright problems sometimes. At least they're talking to me. Doom Eternal released, digital only. It runs pretty good, but it's a bit too little too late. It doesn't even include the DLC. You'd think they would at least throw us a bone there for waiting so long. And yeah, it's impressive that Eternal runs well at all here, but I don't know, I think some of the magic of these current gen games running on Switch is sort of gone. I just end up asking, was this really worth it? Was it worth the wait? And honestly, no. I'm still happy it's here. It's just more like, yeah, I guess this is impressive, but I'm just not wowed anymore. Empire of Sin came out. It's about damn time. Everybody remembers this one, right? The game that Nintendo showed at E3 2019 and made everybody go, what was the significance of this game? Why was it a title Nintendo hyped up at E3 and in one of the Nintendo Direct mini partner showcases? Because I didn't see it then, and I sure as hell don't see it now. Collection of Saga. Again, why this border? This is so stupid looking. This really only appeals to those who grew up with these titles. They're old school Game Boy RPGs, and they're truly a slog to go through. Oh my god, it's the man brave enough to talk shit about Saga 2, Hi-Ho Densetsu.
That's right.
Double Dragon Neon, the Bit Trip series all came back on Christmas Day, which was nice. These are some of the most iconic WiiWare games, and Bit Trip Winter is super simple fun. I like it. But of course, we can't ignore Fitness Boxing 2, Rhythm and Exercise. Nintendo publishes these games for some reason, but they're pretty good. I really like Ring Fit Adventure, but it is a bit of a hassle to set everything up. In this game, you just use your Joy-Con and punch the air. Ring Fit's higher quality in nearly every way, but Fitness Boxing is cheaper and easier to jump into and play for just a bit. I don't really see much of a reason to buy this if you have the first, or buy the first if you have the second, though. You, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. It's so good. It's so good. This is one of my favorite puzzle games. I mean, you get two of the best ones together in one package and they're both firing at all cylinders. Like, this is a full-fledged Tetris game. This is a full-fledged Puyo Puyo one. Story mode is a treat, and there's this new RPG type mode where you have party members, and online is a blast, and I get my ass kicked by anybody who picks the fucking fish from Puyo Puyo. You can make the argument you don't need this game if you have the first. It's pretty much more of the same with very little improvements. But that's because there wasn't anything to improve, fucker. An Indie World presentation dropping Among Us on the Nintendo Switch that day, plus it showcased Super Meat Boy Forever, which also released in December.
It's okay. I really like the original Super Meat Boy, but this was just supposed to be a mobile-only spin-off, and they decided to beef it up to be a console game. The level layouts are randomized, and it just doesn't work as well as the original. I can commend the idea, like, wow, infinite levels! But it's not as tightly laid out because of it, and after waiting a decade for a new Meat Boy game, this one just comes up short. At the Game Awards, it was announced that a new Smash Bros. Character was to be revealed. My money was on Jeff Keighley, and it was Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII, more or less the same thing. I feel like they added him because, one, he's one of the most iconic villains in gaming, but also, two, it actually gave Final Fantasy VII representation in Smash Bros. For some reason, Square Enix only allowed 2 songs to be included and no spirits, so to have actual content released alongside Seph, that makes me not pissed. Part of me would prefer they pick a different Square Enix character to just get more diverse series represented, but I'm alright with this. It's time. It finally happened. Hitman 3 cloud version released. Yes! The more I think about it, the less these cloud versions make sense, so it gives Switch owners the opportunity to play these games. But I'm sorry, if you were ever interested in playing Hitman 3 or Control, you probably have a PlayStation or Xbox. And you're gonna need high-speed internet to enjoy these games on Switch. And if you have high-speed internet, I doubt you only have a Nintendo Switch. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, finally came back. The notorious game lost to time due to being digital only on 360 and PS3 after getting delisted. A physical release was announced, it launched on Nintendo Switch, all is well. That was about it for games released in January. Nobody wanted to go face-to-face with Hitman 3. But we got a few demos, like for Blonde Wonderworld, a new game by Yuji Naka and Naoto Oshima, creators of Sonic the Hedgehog. It's a Square Enix game, but gives off massive Nights into Dreams and Billy Hatcher vibes. It's dog shit. At least the Nintendo Switch version, look at this. It's controlled with one button, even in the menus. They all do the same thing. It looks horrible. It doesn't play well. I'm happy they did a demo so people will save money not buying this, but from their perspective, why did they do one? Monster Hunter Rise got a demo as well, and Nintendo revealed a Mario edition of the Nintendo Switch. This looks really sleek, though. It's literally just red. It's not much of a Mario edition. It's just a red Switch, red dock, red Joy-Con with a blue Joy-Con grip. Good color combinations, but if you wanted to make this specifically Mario themed, you could have added more to it. And finally, the Bowser's Fury portion of Mario 3D World on Switch was revealed. Oh my god. Finally, I can play Super Mario 3D World 8 years later. 3D World is back, and one of the best Wii U ports I think I've ever seen on Switch. It feels like they included and improved every little thing. Something as simple as the Luigi Brothers minigame is still here. The stamps are now fully colorized. The game saving after every level is now in the background rather than right in your face. They even ensured you could still tap and manipulate the environment like you could with the Wii U gamepad. Now you just have to hit the R button and move the cursor around. Every character's walking and running speed has been significantly increased, which makes the game feel legitimately fresh if you already played before. Online multiplayer. It could be better, but it could be worse. There's no multiplayer in the Captain Toad levels, which makes a lot more sense. It was always really weird in such a multiplayer-oriented game. They just said, F your friends, you've got Captain Toad. It runs at a higher resolution. It's on a console that just flat out makes sense for this game. I almost feel like 3D World makes more sense as a Switch game, and Mario Odyssey would have fit the Wii U as the exclusive 3D Mario more. Like, 3D World is all about multiplayer. Put it on the system that has 2 controllers right there. Coupled with the shorter levels, it makes just as much sense as a portable game as it does a console one. Then with Mario Odyssey, I feel like with the map screen you could bring up and a lot of the enemies you could capture, that just feels prime for the Wii U gamepad. At the end of the day though, at least both are now on Switch, and 3D World is better than it's ever been. Back on the Wii U, I felt it was a good game, albeit underwhelming as the only 3D Mario on the platform. Now that we have the big open 3D Mario on Switch, 3D World just makes a lot more sense now, and it's way easier to appreciate it for what it is, rather than what it isn't. But that's only half the story here. I think 3D World's Switch release would have been worth $60 alone. They made a ton of improvements to it to make it worth it in my opinion. Nonetheless, we have a bonus experience, Bowser's Fury. It takes the mechanics of 3D World, but puts it in a Mario Odyssey type environment. Fully controllable camera, wide open areas, you collect cat shines by completing objectives, just like the more open 3D Marios. It's almost like they took a bunch of 3D World type levels, you know, obstacle course type stuff, and spread them around this small open world, and it's just really cool. Every so often, Bowser's Fury is unleashed. Christ, he's pissed. You always have this fear that Bowser's gonna come out at any minute, and when he does, it makes things a lot more hectic. You either wait it out until he retreats, or you can collect a cat shine to scare him off, but if you collect enough shines, you awaken the Giga Bell.
I knew this sounded familiar.
Then you fight off Fury Bowser as my worst fucking nightmare. This is such a cool, new, and original take on 3D Mario. It combines pretty much everything 3D Mario's been in the past and crafts this lovely, smaller game out of it. It's only about 3 hours or so, but were you really expecting much more? 3D World is the main attraction, though Bowser's Fury is the more interesting to discuss as it gets your mind racing. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury is an incredible deal. I wholly recommend it. I'd recommend it without Bowser's Fury. With? This game needs to be available to all. Nintendo also published Bravely Default 2.
Moving on.
I just don't care. I played the demo, it didn't grab me. But people seem to be liking it, and that's all that matters. Whenever a game like this comes out, I am happy because that means Nintendo will move on to talking about other things. Damn it! Before we get to that, Persona 5 finally released on Nintendo Switch. You can tell by the inclusion of the word Strikers. Persona 5 Strikers is a sequel to Persona 5 that is not a turn-based RPG, rather a Warriors-style action RPG. So only 3 months after Hyrule Warriors, we have another game similar to it, though Persona 5 Strikers does deviate quite a bit from the Warriors formula. Combat's similar, but this feels more like a Persona game than something like Age of Calamity feels like a Zelda one. It's a solid title, though I do find it odd how Atlus thinks that people don't want their core RPGs on Switch. If there's an exclusivity contract between them and Sony, sure, I get it. But it seems less and less likely there is. For some reason, they think regular Persona 5 wouldn't do well on Switch, but its sequel that's a hack-and-slash RPG, oh yeah, that'll do well. You can think that way, it doesn't mean I get it. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection is a solid return for the Ghosts and Goblins series. I think the art style looks nice, so the animation is a little too Adobe Flashy for me. Like, you just see a lot of animation tweens and unnatural-looking movements, but I think the actual art looks quite good for the series. And if you want to see where Ghosts and Goblins started, look in your backyard. Capcom spits a series on and everything they can, including the Capcom Arcade Stadium. These kind of compilations don't really excite me anymore, as Capcom has done a ton of stuff like this in the past. Not only that, but many of the top games in here are available elsewhere on Nintendo Switch, like the Street Fighter Anniversary Collection and Capcom Beat 'em Up Bundle. They do this thing where the game download is free, but then you have to pay for pretty much all the games via an in-game purchase, which is fine. That works for mobile phones. I feel like people would rather have the game just flat out say its price on an actual game platform like this. SNES and NES Online got updated this month. Nintendo, where do you get off? Every now and then we get a good month with some solid titles, but now that these apps are updated like every quarter of the year, we wait and get garbage. I personally feel like Nintendo Switch Online has proven its worth. For 20 bones a year, we get more than enough NES and SNES games, but if they want us to maintain excitement for this service, adding the title screen of Fire and Ice to NES Online alongside the rest of the game's box arts isn't gonna cut it. I'd be down for just flat out original Game Boy games at this point. I think everybody's yearning for Nintendo 64, and I agree. But overall, I just want to see more legacy Nintendo content come over faster than this and for an affordable price. Damn it! Well, it's time. After nearly a year and a half, we got our first full Nintendo Direct on February 17th. You know, I always see people freak out at others for being disappointed in or critical of Nintendo. The same people who scolded others for giving Nintendo a hard time for not doing a full Nintendo Direct since September by saying, "What even is a full Direct? You got a Direct Mini, be thankful," were the same people who were overreacting and foaming at the mouth saying, "Yes, a full Nintendo Direct, Nintendo, my fate!" I just get kind of annoyed seeing people freak out about Nintendo announcements, acting like this is the greatest pleasure. This is the best sex I've ever had, and all I did was watch a Splatoon trailer. Anybody criticizing them is just being nitpicky and how they shouldn't go in having such high expectations. Well, then maybe don't hype up Nintendo announcements like they're the 15th coming of Christ. Now, with that being said,
Chibi Robo 6 is coming!
It was good to have these back. Just that feeling of excitement. We were all watching the announcements at the same time rather than waking up at 1 p.m. to Pikmin 3. It was time to be excited for a Nintendo Direct again. So, what did I think?
I bought this. You know my opinion doesn't matter.
This Direct was alright. No matter what, I don't think Nintendo was going to live up to a year and a half worth of build-up, but I think it was okay, though it had a lot of elements of Nintendo Directs I really don't like. The first announcement was of Pyra and Mithra from Xenoblade Chronicles coming to Smash Brothers. You could have said this was Tweedledee and Bernie from Xenoblade 2, and I would believe you. I don't care. This is fine. I mean, were we really not expecting Xenoblade 2 characters here? If they decided to include the characters from Fire Emblem Warriors, that's when I think everybody should have drawn the line. The Xenoblade franchise only had Shulk as a fighter in Smash Brothers. Second, or technically third, these characters transform into each other like Sheik and Zelda. That's fine to me. Of course, the typical anime style has been crowding up a lot of the Smash Brothers DLC slots, so it's totally fair to be like, alright, I don't want pointy hair Key Man, I want the Raisin Bran son, damn it. However, Pyra and Mithra's inclusion doesn't annoy me that much, considering Xenoblade only had 1 rep prior. If they already had like 5 or 6 characters, and this was the 7th, that's when I'll be like, alright, Stop. Fall Guys is coming to Switch. That was a really popular game over the summer, and then a lot of people stopped talking about it, so it's a good thing it's coming to the Switch in 4 months. The Famicom detective games are coming over, which is pretty cool. These are remakes of these old Famicom visual novels by Nintendo back in the day. I love how companies have just given up trying to localize things for English instead of calling this the Super Sleuth Detective Club or something. Nintendo of America just said, we're just calling it Famicom Detective Club. This is such a neat, obscure part of Nintendo's history that's being fully localized for the first time, and I'm all for it. A Monster Hunter Rise system and Pro Controller and Mario Golf Super Rush. I've been waiting for a game with that subtitle forever. So this looks lovely. It's about time something other than Mario Tennis happened. No More Heroes 3 looks promising, but really low resolution. No idea what's going on here. DC Superhero Girls Teen Power, published by Nintendo. It's fine Nintendo's publishing this, just why is it in a Direct? Nintendo made it clear that games like Ring Fit Adventure, Nintendo Labo, their mobile titles, those don't belong in traditional Nintendo Directs because they were for a different audience. So why is this here? Miitopia from the 3DS is coming over, sure. That game was fine, it's just like, why? They're putting loads of effort into this too. Like, it looks excellent now. I think it's awesome to see Nintendo still cares about Miis. It kind of felt like if they didn't have to include Miis in a game on Switch, they wouldn't. Like, they were distancing themselves from the brand, but I think Miitopia is a good sign of things to come. Miis are great. They're way better than the stick figures in Clubhouse games. Project Triangle Strategy, right when I thought we were out of the woods. A successor to Octopath Traveler in graphical design only, really. This one is a strategy RPG instead of a turn-based one. Same sentiment I had towards Bravely Default 2 in that Nintendo Direct Mini. Looks good, but do you really need to have a full 5-minute trailer for this? Anybody who's interested is going to know they're interested within the first minute of this trailer. Nobody's gonna perk their ears up 4 minutes in. Knockout City, not a bad looking game. Basically an online multiplayer dodgeball game. What killed it in this Direct was the trailer. Nintendo, stop playing full trailers for games. Just have your narrator explain it and move on after a minute. Instead, games like Plants vs. Zombies, Battle for Neighborville, Star Wars Hunters, Knockout City, DC Superhero Girls Teen Power, Project Triangle Strategy, they all have these full-blown trailers shown, and it's kind of sort of annoying. It doesn't help that their presentation style is kind of weird sometimes. Age of Calamity DLC. Here's a 2-second still frame of everything it comes with, and then moving on. What? Ninja Gaiden Master Collection. Great to see that. Included is Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, so that marks one more Wii U game off the list. Devil's Third, your day will come. Eiji Aonuma appears and says that Breath of the Wild 2 info will come later this year, and to me, this says that game is coming in 2022. If it does, it's pretty crazy we've waited about as long as we did for the first Breath of the Wild. That game got its first trailer at E3 2014 and came out a little under 3 years later. Well, Breath of the Wild 2 was first revealed at E3 2019, and we'll probably get it a little under 3 years later. That's fine, but I think it means my expectations are a lot higher here. Breath of the Wild 1, they had to create this entire thing from scratch. 2 is obviously using a lot of 1 as a base, and it's taking just as long to produce. You'd think it would come out quicker, but I'm kind of expecting to be blown away here. In the meantime, we have Skyward Sword HD to hold us over. Yes, Skyward Sword is being remastered for Nintendo Switch. Good for it. It looks clearer now, but very little else looks much better. Wind Waker and Twilight Princess's HD versions felt a lot more dramatically different and improved. I think I've overestimated how much better Wind Waker HD looked in the past. Playing the original, it's obvious they did very little outside of bloom the out of the game, though it still looks great. Twilight Princess, they did a ton more to the game, but it inherently looks worse because its art style doesn't age as well as Wind Waker's. Skyward Sword being a colorful late Wii game, it does age much better, so there really wasn't a ton they could have done to it, so it's whatever. It just doesn't look dramatically better. It's similar to how Mario Galaxy and 3D All-Stars looked. Comparing it to the original, of course it looks a lot better. It's so much more clear, but if you're just seeing footage of the new version by itself, it's not immediately obvious you're playing the upgrade. They retooled the game to work via standard button control, which is good to preserve this game and make it more readily accessible. The Skyward Sword's emphasis on motion controls definitely didn't sit well with some, so having the option no matter what is a good thing. But the thing is, this game is $60, and that's just a bit ridiculous. Sure, Nintendo knows they can sell the game at that price because we're all stupid and hate savings, but it's just weird they value this game at the exact same price as Breath of the Wild, and Breath of the Wild 2 when that releases, and a remake like Link's Awakening that also shouldn't have been $60, but had a lot more apparent effort put in. And something like Mario 3D All-Stars, where as low effort as that game was, it was 3 games in one, with one of them being a Wii game as well, with similar levels of changes made. Of course, this being at face value. Skyward Sword HD will probably have more quality of life enhancements, but even with those, this should be $40 max. It's more expensive than it was on Wii at launch 10 years ago, when it was a brand new game. It sounds like I'm really not digging any of this, but I'm not mad. It's just kind of lame to see Nintendo take advantage of the fact they're at the top right now. Instead of pricing things fairly, they think because Zelda's hot right now, they can price a game like this at $60. And they'd be right. It's a weird situation to be in because the same people complaining about this are the same ones who are gonna buy the game. I think it just stings because I love Nintendo. I want to buy their games, and just because they know that, they're gonna take advantage of it. It's kinda lame. The final announcement was Splatoon 3. Okay, Splatoon is great, but it feels odd to have more than one entry per system. To me, it feels somewhat redundant to have 2 Splatoons on the Switch, with both being, well, Splatoon. 3 seems to be taking things in a post-apocalyptic direction, which seems cool, but at its core, it looks like more Splatoon, which is fine. It's just I'm not crazy excited considering I can already play Splatoon on the Switch right now. Of course, I just said how Mario Kart needs a new entry, but that's because Splatoon 2 was a new game. It had a whole single-player expansion. I don't really think the Switch was desperate for more Splatoon. Mario Kart 8 came out in 2014, and we've been nursing on those tracks ever since. Cool announcement, but with Splatoon 2 readily available, it's hard for me to get that pumped up. At least the single-player seems to be more open adventure style. With Splatoon feeling the need to make their world feel as lived in as possible, it was always odd to me the single-player stages were simple obstacle course designs. I felt like an exploration-styled story mode would work well for the series, and we might just get that with 3. That was alright. At least we had a Pokemon Presents later on, showcasing remakes of Diamond and Pearl, Brilliant Diamond, and Shining Pearl. They look very simple and aren't developed by Game Freak, surprisingly. I wish they would have gotten Grezzo. They did the Link's Awakening remake and are working on Miitopia for the Switch. I just feel like while the style is cute, it could use some better detail and lighting effects, like with Link's Awakening. But while Game Freak isn't working on these remakes, they are working on Pokemon Legends Arceus, an open-world take on Pokemon. It's cool to see them try something legitimately new and interesting. It's terrifying to see this frame rate.
And that was the Nintendo Switch's 4th year. A lot of people seem to really hate the lineup this time around. Considering the circumstances, I personally thought it was alright. I think what's the most concerning is the near future. 2021's lineup looks pretty bad. It's pretty much entirely re-releases outside of Mario Golf. And the bigger games Nintendo's hyping up right now are sequels to games we already have on the Switch, which is great, but it does feel a little been there, done that compared to how these games felt when they first appeared on the Switch. I mean, we're officially in the 5-year mark of this system. That's crazy to think, but that's generally the expected lifetime of most platforms. It's not going to be the end of the Switch, but most consoles have a 5-year lifespan. If the Switch is going to continue past that mark, I think a small revision at the very least is needed. I want to be excited by the Switch again, but at the moment, the hardware is just starting to show its age, and it's not as magical as it once was in 2017 and 2018. And plus, Nintendo's getting a bit too egotistical. They've always done whatever they felt like doing, but at least during the Wii U era and the beginning of this one, they felt a lot more humble. Now, they'll charge $60 for anything with a leg on the cover. Just some concerns for the future, but Nintendo is still working harder than a lot of other game companies. They put out more games than both of their competitors, even at their worst. At their worst.